Hi everyone, hope you all are doing well. So in today's video, we are going to discuss about the new feature inside NoCodeBackend that is actually going to make the process of sending password reset emails a lot easier. So before right now, the users are able to create the authentication system. They can create the registration forms or the sign-in forms, and it is working perfectly fine. But when it comes to the point when a specific users forgot their password, then it's a bit challenging to send the reset password emails. Though you can definitely do that by creating your own kind of backend service that connects with your SMTP server and create a kind of JWT token and send the reset password emails with that token. But that is kind of a lot of work there, and this is what we want to prevent right now. So we have done something really amazing within no code backend itself. So sending password reset emails is now all natively supported within this platform. So you do not need to go and create your own kind of backend service there. You can generate the curl commands, or if I say the API endpoint specifically for sending the password reset emails to your users. So to get started, we'll first create a database. So let's create a database quickly. I'll give this a name as users database, or let's say users auth db, something like that. You can give any name that you want. Then I'll need to say name, sorry, I need to have table, right? So let's call this table as users. This was the database name, and inside that we have this table called users, and this table is something which will be used for the authentication purposes, right, in our front end application. So this table we'll use for the registration and the login purposes, and then we'll implement the forgot password feature where we'll be sending the reset password emails. And then we need to have the columns inside this. So I'll give it as name, then we'll have email, and then we will have a password field. Again, it all depends on what nomenclature you want to have. You may be using a different name, right, for let's say to call email or password. So that doesn't matter here, right? What matters is we need to have one authentication, one table for the auth purposes, right, to create the registration and the login forms. Password, I'll keep it as a password type of field. What this does is it will actually encrypt any values of the password into a bcrypt format. All right, let's create the database. So our database has been created and the API endpoints has been created as well. We are not going to check the API endpoints, but let's create the secret key is there, and we are not going to open the API documentation. What we are interested now is, if I just go back to the databases, now I'll show you the new feature that we have implemented. I click on these three dots, you see a new option called SMTP. Now what this does is this allows you to add your own SMTP server details, which will allow you to send the password reset emails. So this is the first step. After generating your database, this is the first step that you're supposed to do if you're going to implement the password reset feature in your front-end application. So I'll click on add SMTP. Here, you are supposed to provide your correct SMTP details. So in the meantime, I'll just add my SMTP details for the no-code backend. You will be using your own details here. All right. So if you see, my SMTP has been connected. Now what I need to do is I can simply click on these three dots and let me generate the Swagger JSON. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to Greta, or you can go to any other front end generator. If you have Cursor, if you have Windsurf, any tool that you have, you can go there and start generating your front end. Now I just simply need to copy this Swagger JSON. What this does is it contains all our API endpoints, And we can simply provide this to Greta and ask Greta to create a registration and login form and integrate with our API endpoints using this JSON code. So let me go to Greta here. So I'm inside Greta. Now I'll simply ask it to create a registration and login forms, because what we are doing here is we are just simply testing the forward password feature. This is the whole use case for this video. We are not concerned with any kind of fancy UIs or those stuff, though you can do that, but let's focus on what we actually want to achieve. I'll simply say create, that's a user management system with, so this is important, which we want to have with a registration and login form. So what we are told Greta is we need to have registration and login forms. We're not concerned with what this is. You can have any kind of application. We simply need this thing. Along with, we need the forgot password feature as well, the option to forgot password. Okay. And what we also need to have is a reset password page, right? When someone opens a reset password page, they'll be prompted to enter the new password, right? If you have seen any applications where you forgot your password, then you receive a reset link to your email, and clicking that link opens a page where you're supposed to enter your new password, right? This is what I'm asking Greta to create for me. Also create a reset password page for me, password page. And the most important part here is we do not want Greta to add its own logic there. What we are going to do is we already have the code which will generate from NoCodeBackend, which I'll show you in some time, and that code we have to provide to Greta, and that is what going to integrate the password reset feature for you. Okay, that code is going to send those emails to your users to reset their password. And I'll simply ask Greta to not add any password reset logics. So this is all we want Greta to have, and now I'll simply provide that Swagger JSON that we created, that we generated, right? Use below Swagger JSON to integrate with our endpoints to register a new user and log in a new user. So this is the entire JSON code that I copied and pasted here. Let's also guide Greta so that we do not have to do a lot of to and forth. Let's guide it in the start itself. Use the get endpoint of user table, right? We created a user table, right? So just guiding it again, because this happens for the sign in features. It gives errors when we want to sign in the user. It works perfectly fine when we want to register a user, but for the signing purposes it starts using a different endpoint. So let's guide it there. Use the get endpoint of users table along with the query parameters of to match email and password, and this is for the sign in login functionality. So I have simply guided Greta to use the get endpoint of the users table along with the query parameters. So in the query parameter, it will pass the email and password, and it will match that with what the user have entered on the login form. Okay. One more thing we need to provide is the secret key. That is very important because secret key is not passed via the JSON. That is a confidential detail. The secret key act as the authorization header for that. Let's also use the authorization header for all the API calls. The above API calls, it will be a bearer token. So secret key acts as an authorization header and it is passed as a bearer token. The token value I can provide to Greta is, the token value will be is let me just go back to NoCodeBackend, and here if I just go back, I need to copy my secret key. I'll just copy this, just go back to Greta, and I'll just provide this here. Let me tell you, I'm just providing these values directly to Greta. When you're going to actually create a production level application, you need to create some kind of env files. So those are called as environment files. which prevents the exposure of these confidential details over the browser. So you can have env files, the environment files, or you can have any other code or encrypted files which will store these details for you and just call that those values for you. So this is all. Let me see how it works. I'll just click on build. So let's see how it comes out. All right. So I think we have the UI ready. What I'll do is I'll first of all deploy this. So what this does is it provides me with a static permanent URL for my application, right? So like this, if you see, I now have a application hosted on Netlify, and I'll just use this from now on, and I'll just open that URL. All right. So we have this application ready. Let's try to create a new user. I already like this UI. So let's try to create a new user. So what I can do is I can have, let's say, ncb, just enter our no code backend support email itself, and password I can give, let's say, 23456. You can see the password. So this is a password I'm using right now. Later on we'll implement the forgot password feature. We'll have a new password there. So I'll just click on create account. I see it is working very fine. How can we validate if the user actually got created? So to validate that, we can just go to the API documentation and just run this API call there itself to check if we have any users or any user created there or not. So for that, I'll just go back to NoCode backend dashboard here, and for that, first of all, let me copy this secret key, and now I'll just go to the API documentation. So this is the API documentation that we have. Let me authorize this with the secret key. Let's read all the users. So we just created one user, so we should be getting that one user here. Click on try it out, and there you go, right? So we have this ncb user that we created, and if you see, the password is encrypted because we are using the field as a password type of field. Till now all good. Now let's go back to our application here. What I will do is I will now try testing the sign in functionality. I just click on log out, and let's try with some wrong password here. 1 2 3 4. So this is good. 3 4 5 6. So this is the correct password. Let's see if it works or not. All right, so this is working perfectly fine. So it hardly took us few minutes to actually create this authentication system, right? This is a big thing that you have done, right? This is actually a complex thing that we have implemented within our front end application. This is now all the persistent data that is stored in the backend database within no code backend. So we have the sign in functionality and we have the registration functionality working all fine. Now let's implement the forgot password feature. So right now we have this, and here we can write our email, and we can click on send reset link, but right now it will not work because we haven't added any logic here. No emails will be sent right now. Let's go to no code backend. Now here, for this database on which we are working right now, I'll just click on edit. Right, so this is our table, users table. Now if you see, we have a new feature added here, a new option, forgot password code. So this will generate a new code for us. If I just click on that here, if you see, it has some help text as well. So we need to select our authentication table and fields, and it will generate ready to run curl command for requesting a reset link and completing the reset. And before that, we have to complete the SMTP settings, which we already did as the first step. Now we have to just choose the tables. So for us, the auth table here is the users table that we created. It can be any table. You may have 10 or 20 or any number of tables inside your database, but you need to choose that one table which you are actually using as for the authentication purposes. Now the reset page URL from the front end, right? So we need to enter the reset page link. So we can just go back to Greta and simply ask it for the link. what is the reset page URL? What I believe is it will be simply a slash reset password, but I'm not sure. So I can just ask Greta just to provide me with the reset page URL. What is this? So I think this is the URL, reset page URL. I'm not sure what Greta is doing. I have not asked it to make any changes. I think it is making changes. It is adding some token from its own and some random dummy token. I do not want that. We want to use code from the NoCode backend. So anyway, this is wrong because it will not work. I again ask Greta, though I already asked Greta not to add any logic. So I'll just add this. We do not need any logic, but what I have seen here is this is the URL. I'm not sure what this it's doing here. So this is actually the URL here. I'll need to copy this. So currently both the forgot password and the password reset page are UI only without backend logic. So it is just adding this thing as a simulation, just to give you a simulation of how it would work. But anyway, we do not need that. We'll integrate with our own code. But what we needed was this thing. So this is the page. The complete URL will be, if I just go back here, right? So this should be the complete page as what Greta provided. So this is the page, right? Reset password. I just copy this URL and go back to NoCode backend. Here I need to provide that reset page or reset password page URL, which is done. Now my application name is, what do I call my front end application? So this will go inside the email as your application name. I can call this as user management system. Looks good and simple. I can also provide the logo as well. We can go on and we can just pick any random image. So logo. So we can just pick any random image from the internet. This looks good. So I'll just copy this image address and just go backend and just paste that URL here. All right. And if you see, we have the code generated for the forgot password page and the reset password page, right? Again, it is selecting this email field and the password field by default, but you can choose what is your actual email field from the table. So I have email and I have a password as the password field inside my table. Okay, it may be something else. You may have written password hash or something like that. So you need to choose what your field is. Okay, so after doing that, you get this code generated. This is for the forgot password. So if I just copy this code and go back to Greta, so now what I can ask it is, so I want it to run below curl command when a user clicks this send recent link, right, on the forgot password. So this forgot password page opens or whatever the pop-up is. I want my curl command to run on this. So I again just copy this command for the forgot password, and if I just go to Greta and just mention it here, just click on submit, so it will run that. So it has generated this for us. If I just now redeploy this, so if I just reload this application again, and now if I just click on forgot password, I can type the email. So this was the email, right? I can click on send recent link and it should now run that particular code for us. All right, so it has, I'm not sure it has run that or not. I need to go and check the emails, and if you see, right, so we have received this email, and if you see, we have the app name and some text here. We have the logo as well. We have this recent link coming there, right? So looks really good. And let me tell you, this whole thing requires a lot of complex backend coding. You need to set up your own a kind of backend server, Node.js server, or any backend server in maybe Python or whatever you are using. There you need to integrate with your own SMTP details and all the tokens and everything, right? Let me tell you, this token which is added to this URL expires after 15 minutes. So we have taken care of all those security measures as well from our end. So we are now actually getting real password reset emails, and clicking this should open the page and we can reset the new password. But we haven't implemented the reset password page logic yet. So if I just go back to the application, what we need to, or if I just go back to Greta, what we are now still left is we need to provide the code for the reset password, and that code was here. Right now we have integrated this forward password. We could have done that in just one step itself, but I'm just going that slowly one by one. So now I'll just copy this reset password code, and I just simply need to provide this to Greta, and this code should be added on the reset password page. Now for the reset password page, run below command, and it should now integrate our second curl command for actually updating the password, the new password. So if I go back to NoCodeBackend, so these two curl commands have different purposes. The first curl command is used to send the email, which also pass the token, a signed token, JWT token, for the security purposes. And the second curl command is to actually update the new password in the backend. So this is what these two different codes are doing. Let's go back to Greta. All right, so it has implemented this thing. I'll just redeploy this application. All right, so what I need to do next is, if I just go back to that email itself, right? So this was the email that was sent. Now if I just open this link, and if I now try to enter a new password, let's say I want to add, what should I add? I can add some random password, and same I can pass here as well. If I just click on reset password, so it says it has updated that. Let's try to sign in again, and this is the new password, right, that we added. Let's first of all use our old password. So if you remember, this was the old password that we used to register this user. So if I click on sign in, now it is saying invalid email or password, which means now this password is not getting recognized. Let's use our new password. So, and if I click on sign in, there you go. So how crazy is that? This feature, let me tell you, is actually really complex. I'm just reiterating this again and again because it is a complex feature to implement. You have to send those password reset emails, and you have to generate those tokens from your end, from your backend. This is all natively supported within NoCodeBackend. Let me just summarize what we did. So if I just go back to NoCodeBackend, and if I just go back to all the databases, so we really implemented two major features. The first thing is we implemented the SMTP. So this is a must. If you do not add your SMTP details, no emails will be sent. Even if you integrate the code, it will not send any emails because you have not configured your SMTP. So after configuring your or adding your SMTP details, you need to go to your database by editing it, and there you will see this new option, a new button to generate the forgot password code. If you click that, you will have the option to choose the table which is acting as the auth table for you. So for me, it is my users table. And then you need to select your fields. So what is the email field? So it is by default picking those fields by itself, right? Then you also need to specify the reset password page URL. Okay, so for front end, you will be actually having a reset password page generated, and you need to provide that URL here. Okay, you can provide your application name and your logo URL. Then it will generate the code for you. So if I just add any random value here, adds anything random, so it will generate these two blocks of code. The first code is to send the reset email. The second one, this code is actually resetting or updating the backend with the new password. Okay, this was actually a major update, a major feature that we implemented inside NoCodeBackend, and We believe this will really reduce the time that takes for you to uh, create something like that on your own, right? What we actually try to do was to generate the direct endpoints for sending the reset password email as well. And now this is just a copy paste thing. I hope you like this new feature, and in case you have any suggestions or any feedback for us, please send your queries or questions to our support email, and we'll try to respond to your queries as soon as we can. Till then, thank you.